Doot 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 doot.
Where's a rabbit's foot?
You're bringing in the Hoffman too early.
I know.
You're coming in Hoffman.
That's what makes me laugh the most.
We'll get to that. I'll give you guys my.
Give me a rabbit's foot.
I'll give you guys my awesome based PPS PSH. Throw a little PSH on there later on. I'm sure BLA in the chat is a familiar fan of PSH.
You have a new
BLA
impersonation, and it came out really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later when we have a little bit of time when we get to part 3. And they even have the scene ready to go. So you can test me and see if my PSH is up to par. We don't want that. We don't want PSH's face covering your pretty face.
Not yet.
You look nice.
Yeah.
No, not yet. So if you remember, there is a great scene that we had a lot of fun actually rewatching this whole series. What did you think rewatching it? How many years had it been for you?
I hadn't even seen the last ones, so I was not even caught up, but I enjoyed going all the way back to the 90s because this was a 90s blockbuster, wasn't it? 96?
The first one was. I remember, junior year of high school, and I remember going to the movies, and we were really excited to go see it.
Yeah. Tom does all these stunts.
Scoot over this way.
I think.
Yeah,
there we go. That's one of the most impressive things about this whole franchise is the silly stunts. And they get more over the top, too.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing with spy movies and action movies, that you have to always outdo the previous installment. So the stunts have to be more and more outrageous. And if you type in Dead Reckoning, you'll notice that old Tom Coombe over there is busy promoting the entire scene of a giant motorcycle. I mean, it's like he builds, like you said, a mini village
on top of a mountain.
On the top of a mountain
in Tibet or some crazy place. I don't know where
it is. Yeah, no, it's like it's Sweden or Norway or somewhere.
Oh, okay.
And he trained for like a whole year to jump off of this giant superstructure on a motorcycle with a parachute. Mm-hmm. And I mean, to me, I'm confused. Why does it take? Well, I guess they had to get the wind. It's crazy, right? Maybe we should watch.
All the conditions had to be perfect, like the perfect amount of misty clouds and sunlight.
That's right. He wanted the visible scenes to be perfect too. And so I don't know about the first one, but Tom Cruise has this thing where he will only do his own stunts, right?
Mm-hmm. Was this the one where he's on top of the train?
This is a train one, but a lot of that train sequence is CGI.
Oh, okay.
So it's 1996 CGI.
Brian De Palma. So they all have different, not all of them, but some of them have different directors, and they come out differently depending on, like the second one is pretty goofy.
Second one is a John Woo. More action, more hair frying, right? So literally
more birds,
more bird fry. Yeah. So the if you remember in Face Off, we have the doves flying across the church shootout with Nick Cage and John Travolta, right? Mm-hmm. And Nick Cage has his 2 golden guns.
Yes.
That's classic John Woo. And John Woo really liked the slow motion action sequences that are completely ridiculous. Right?
But he also likes slow motion, like meaningful moments between lovers. Goes into slow motion.
Right, like when they do the Tom Coombe Tokyo Drift. The Kumio Drift. The Tomio Drift, where it's him and Thandie Newton, and they have this glance of love as their 2 cars are
as they're locked
spinning
in a spin
off of a cliff.
It's so dumb.
Off a cliff.
Yes. Okay, so
right. So you were saying the different directors. There's the De Palma, and then there's John Woo, and then we get the phase of JJ Abrams, which is relevant to the CIA consultation on Hollywood. because that's one of the classic examples of it, and I'll show the book here in a second where that's discussed. But we should go ahead and get into this because we have all of these installments to get through. Welcome, everybody. If you would hit like and share. We're going to go through the entire 6 installments today in anticipation of Tom Coombs' new release.
Do it, yeah.
That's the extent of my Tom Coombs impression, is just him giggling and doing that thing that he does with his smile. But there's also a lot of interesting intelligence overlaps, connections via the cruise ethos, isn't there? Mm-hmm. Right? We all think of the Scientology. Obviously, he's a huge promoter of Scientology. We know that Scientology has a lot of connections to shadow security state elements, as we shall say. But I wonder if, all of this training, might it have other uses for Tom? I mean, I don't know. We
just learned yesterday he's also a pilot.
Yes.
He can do his own. Not only can he do his own stunts, he can do his own air stunts.
He does his own air stunts, exactly.
Yeah, crazy.
He's a character, which is, pretty impressive, actually. It's pretty impressive. I'm not into his ideologies, but it's pretty impressive to do all that stuff. It's wild.
Yeah.
And is he just like remember in the 90s when they started pushing extreme sports, and then they had the new phenomena of adrenaline junkies?
Yeah.
Is he just an adrenaline junkie?
Or it could be all thanks to Scientology. Not thanks to it, but maybe it pushes you to chase things like that, extreme experiences.
Well, they might have a very positive thinking kind of approach too. I don't actually know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Every movie has certain things which we'll touch on, which carry over, which is Tom running fast.
He's the perfect
loves to
runner.
Run really fast. Yeah.
He has the perfect runner's posture. Yeah.
You gotta have a scene. Yeah, the only person that runs more in movies is Liam Neeson. Basically, all of his previous movies are Liam Neeson running. That's it.
So, he's Ethan Hunt in all of these movies, and you said that's kind of like E. Howard Hunt.
Yeah, Ethan Hunt is based on the real world Black Ops figure from the CIA, E. Howard Hunt, most famously associated with, by his own confession, the JFK event. So E. Howard Hunt, but he also ties into a lot of other, classic CIA Black Ops and that kind of stuff. And his son, St. John Hunt, both of whom have been on with Lord Voldemort, by the way. Lord V has interviewed both E. Howard Hunt and St. John Hunt over the years. In fact, Alex went and talked to E. Howard Hunt on his deathbed when he was talking about JFK.
Oh, really?
And nobody cared about it except Lord Voldemort and Rolling Stone. That was it. So that's who Impossible Mission Force is based on. It's also obviously an old TV show.
That's kind of goofy.
It is goofy, but it's from the 60s.
Right.
So it's a 60s spy show. For whatever reason, the 1960s spy shows were everywhere. Probably for the popularity of Bond. So you got copies of Bond, you get The Saint, you get Mission Impossible, you get The Avengers, all these TV shows capitalizing on the spy craze of the 1960s and the Cold War.
Something they use a lot in these movies is the fake hotel room. So this movie starts out in the fake room.
Fake news.
Yeah.
Square Trump lips.
Do it.
Fake news. Really, I discovered that... I discovered that the square is the key to doing the impression.
Yes, the square lips.
The square lips is the key to the Trump impression. Anyway, what were we talking about? Why did I do Trump?
Fake rooms, fake news.
Oh, fake news. Fake rooms. Yeah, this is a gag they really love. I don't know if this is in the old show, but I do know the old show, they love to pull the mask off, right? The Scooby-Doo, pull the mask off at the end. It's almost Scooby-Doo level in Mission Impossible.
They love masks in this franchise. Masks are the key to a lot of the plot twists in this. But they also love the trope of the firm or your handler betrays you, your boss betrays you, and you have to go
Everybody betrayed me. Every boss betrayed me. Every handler betrayed me. You do Tommy Wiseau really good.
Everyone betray me.
Exactly, yeah. So basically Tom Cruise is Tommy Wiseau as perpetually betrayed.
Yes. And in this one, it is John Voight is the betrayer. He is the handler, the boss of the team. And the whole thing is the knock list, which is the list of all
non-official
of the agents.
cover agents, right? So it's going to be exposed. They're going to leak who all the agents are. And this is a really good movie, I think. I think that just on a film perspective, back in the 90s, I remember everybody was really into it. It was a fun experience at the movie theater. And I remember being a little confused with the plot because it was, I was probably puffing doobies in high school and I didn't know, what was going on in the movie, but I thought it was a lot of fun. And then watching it later, you start to realize, oh, okay, so this is dealing with, actual CIA operations.
Didn't they
Hollywoodized
do this, though, in Afghanistan? Like, a couple years ago, some kind of list was exposed and everybody was exposed.
There have been multiple times where a list of agents has been publicized on the internet or exposed. That's part of the reason I think that they were mad at Assange. I think Assange at one point talked about this. Anyway, there have been instances of this, yes. So I don't know what this is based on from the 1990s, but go ahead and read. Where are we at?
The first one features Emilio as a hacker man in 90s hacker gear.
And he doesn't last long. He has a untimely elevator demise.
Because of the betrayal. So he can't control the elevator and the other guy's controlling it. John Voight is. And remember?
And John Voight is another interesting character because, of course, he's appeared on Fox News as a conservative for so many years. I mean, a Fox News, quote, conservative. But is the father of Angelina Jolie, who clearly openly has had, connections to being CIA trained via Melissa Malef for the movie Salt, and also with being an open member of the Council on Foreign Relations. So we know that, she's directly working with and tied to various intelligence agencies and operations.
And their movie Tomb Raider together.
Well, in Tomb Raider, it's just interesting because they do reference specifically the Illuminati, right? And it's the British, it's located at the British, I think, Naval War College or something like that. That's who they call the Illuminati.
Somebody said sweet cream rules everything around me.
I'll take that. Yeah, so berries and cream is, of course, nowadays, looking back, what Jamie was talking about when she got to laughing so hard and couldn't control her giggles. I had no idea what berries and cream was, and so when she called it sweet cream, it was even more confusing, which added to the humors.
Sweet cream will never die. That's like the funniest inside joke of our culture.
They all love that now. So.
Okay. Yes, Emilio Estevez.
Back to Mission Impossible 1.
He got squished. Tom is in, what is that word?
Kiev.
Okay.
Well, this is odd because a lot of what's going on is relevant to kind of the news now, right? Because he's in Kiev.
TV show mentions what?
The Church Committee.
Okay.
That's the CIA's investigation and everything. The Senate, the congressional investigations into the CIA's covert operations under Frank Church, including, assassination, sabotage. William Colby was there being questioned. The heart attack gun, that's from that. You
said hidden in plain sight.
Let me see. I wrote the notes on this one. She can't read my doctor's handwriting. So, yeah. So Tom Coome is in Kiev, and this is taking place when Soros was beginning to set up the color revolution, the Orange Revolution in Kiev in the 1990s. So that began in 1994. This movie comes out in 1996. So it's just interesting to me that Hollywood hides in plain sight a lot of these things that the CIA is up to. The CIA hides a lot of things in plain sight in Hollywood. So they actually reference, though, hidden in plain sight in the movie. So that's something that isn't out of nowhere. It's actually in the film itself, hidden in plain sight. So the TV mentions that, and I think infiltration comes up too, right? Because there's a weird scene where Tom Coome is dressed up as a governor, and he's on the Senate floor, and that's for a fake news sequence, right? Remember that?
Yeah. They did that in another one too. They had a whole fake apocalypse on the news.
Yes, in the last one, Fallout, they have to deceive a nuclear terrorist, nuclear. Remember? He says that.
I know, nuclear.
Nuclear. It's nuclear, and he says nuclear.
Yep.
But he has to deceive a guy through giving the impression that the cities have been nuked, and then he's ready to tell him, why he did it and who his connections are, his handler is, and all this stuff. But the weird part about that scene is that it's all faked and gray and staged. And Wolf Blitzer's in the movie. He walks in and reads a few lines, and turns out it's Simon Pegg wearing a mask. Remember? Mm-hmm. Anyway, so this movie also features microchips, which, again, very far ahead in terms of...
micro dots.
Did it have... is that the second one? Maybe I'm thinking of the second one. But there is a... No, I'm sorry. This one is not microchips. But they talk about AI. That's what it is. The chip that they're after is an AI chip, and they speak of Ving Rhames, the hacker that they introduce eventually, right? What are you doing to me, Ethan? What are you doing, Ethan? Right?
My Gucci.
You put a hole in my Gucci, Ethan. He shows up later as a key character, and he's part of the cyber freaks. He's a cipher freak. Which is interesting because that's actually where Assange comes out of, right? Is the cyber freaks. That's the background to cyber techno ops and hacking. Mm-hmm. The cyber freaks were actual. So it's odd. Whoever wrote this screenplay knew about a lot of what was going on at that time in real world sort of operations and cybercom and this kind of stuff.
And John Voight was using the Bible as some kind of cipher.
Yes, so they thought that Job 314 was some sort of Operation 314, and it's not. It's Job 314, which I think they're just using it as a way to speak of where to meet. It's a form of cipher. So the movie's just introducing cryptography and ciphers to you. But from the outset, what we realize is that what Tom Cruise is and what IMF is, what it's based on in reality is the... Here it is. The thing that we read about in Fletcher Prouty's Secret Team, right? And this is the book, one of the books that influenced Oliver Stone to do JFK. Oliver Stone has he did the blurb at the top there for this. And this is just talking about the time period when Colonel Fletcher Prouty was a key element in the Secret Team. The Secret Team comes out of the black operations that the CIA was doing via the OPC. So if you remember in the recent videos and lectures we've done, we covered the Office of Policy and Coordination, which was an innocuous title for CIA's black ops during especially World War II and post-World War II Cold War era. And that becomes kind of these teams that go out and engage in sabotage, election, RIGGING, assassinations, all of that. And that's what this book is about. So that's what IMF and Ethan are. It's also ironic, too, that he works for IMF, which is supposed to be Impossible Mission Force. But, of course, IMF is like the giant Fabian socialist banking scam institution that scams the world. So it's like,
the International Monetary Fund.
Do you really work for the International Monetary Fund? Is that who you work for, old Tom? But or Ethan, I should say. But so then they get the outlandish idea they have to hack the CIA, which is kind of crazy, right? That they're going to hack the CIA, and there's this ridiculous room with all of this preposterous security that basically anybody would constantly be tripping off the security, right? Because if your body temperature is 1 degree over, if you gain like 5 pounds, it's going to set off the weight differential on the floor. It's like ridiculous. And so they come up with this plot to give the guy diarrhea, right? And so he has to keep running to the toilet, and he can't go in the room because he'll be sweating and all that.
That's a major memorable moment in cinema,
I
think, when he's like coming down.
When he's hanging.
And
yeah. And so I do give credit because that does make for a great sequence. And then the sweat drop that's on the edge of his glasses that he like catches at the last moment. But just That would be the most annoying level. It'd be set off by a fly, right? Like anything would set so ridiculous. But then they have to, like in every movie, up the ante and do an even crazier break-in.
Yeah.
Which makes it makes for fun.
Well, every movie has we have to steal the Declaration of Independence moment. Like we have to break into the most secure facility in the world. And get this.
Yeah. Tom is doing. I mean, Nick Cage is doing an Ethan Hunt, right?
Yeah. Basically,
have to up the ante. It's odd though. They do mention AI computer chips having some connection to this chip that Ving Rhames is after, but that just ties into the gadgetry, because spy movies are all about gadgetry, and we theorized a while back when we used to do the Hoaxbusters episodes, we theorized that the real purpose of a lot of spy gadgetry in film is not just to entertain, but actually to prepare the public for the acceptance of the mainstreaming of spy technology, which is this kind of stuff. So I think that a lot of those gadgets, they find, not always, but I mean, we don't have invisible cars yet, but the gadgets eventually spill out to the mass market. So those are my thoughts on MI1. What did you think about that?
I think it was a classic. I think it had a lot of innovation of the time. Like it was a blockbuster, and it had a lot of memorable cinema moments.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course, not as famous as the Tom Coombe trapeze stretching hanging act. There's also the train sequence, which everybody remembers. But when you go back and watch the train sequence now, it's a little ridiculous. With the CGI is pretty bad. And then the helicopter blowing up and Tom Cruise flying through the air and grabbing the super 500-mile-an-hour train.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a little much, but it did make for a fun 90s spy movie viewing.
Mm-hmm. And then it kind of went goofy in the sequel with John Woo.
This is when John Woo was kind of at his peak, right? Because you had Face Off, and I think John Woo did the one Van Damme movie that finally got. Well, I guess Van Damme had a few mainstream successes, but the peak of Van Damme was done by John Woo.
Yeah.
So then it
gets a little comic booky in the second.
It gets really silly, the whole sequence of the Tokyo drifting off of a cliff with. While Tom is spitting game. I mean, it's just...
Well, this one starts in Australia, and there's a mad scientist, and he's got the serum. There's always there's always the microchip, the floppy disk, the serum, the nuclear weapon. What else?
The microfiche.
Yeah, microfiche. So this one is the serum.
The disc. The laser disc.
And it's the Biosite Pharmaceuticals company.
This is wild because a lot of the overall conspiracy plot of part 2, believe it or not, as silly as this movie is, it's kind of what happened in the last 3 years.
Well, yeah.
Because the villain says, I'm going to sell everybody the stabby solution to my sickness.
Yeah.
That's what is it? Brendan Gleeson is the villain.
Yeah, and they're making. Yeah. So there's Russian scientists making chimeras.
Oh, this is the Chimera episode. That's right.
Yeah. And then he gets on a plane to Atlanta, and he thinks he's with Tom Cruise, but surprise, surprise, masks.
Now the bad guys are doing the mask trick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so the bad guys crash the plane. There's lots of boobs going on in this movie. John Woobs.
John Woobs. Yeah. That's what I said. John Woobs.
John Woobs. He likes the boobs.
Show him more of this area.
Yeah. And we do things because it's badass in this movie. That's exactly.
To quote Nick Cage.
Yeah.
We must do the things that are badass.
Everything that happens in this movie is because of the badassery of it. Mm-hmm. Right?
It's just way over the top. But the thing is that, we want a degree of believability, right? And when you go way unbelievable, it kind of it feels cartoony. It doesn't really feel like a real, situated in the world type of movie. But when we get to installment number 3, the JJ Abrams installment, it actually gets back to being a really good movie. I think part 3 is really good, but
this one's still enjoyable because so they have this little meet cute in Spain where they see each other and they're instantly in love. It's a very James Bond moment.
It is very Bond at this point, yeah.
Yeah. And then you have your other spy trope is they're always the worst and inconsiderate drivers of all time.
This is a thing that really bugs Jamie is the spy disregard for traffic
you
norms and rules.
You have to share the road with other people. You can't be just like locked
You can't
in
just
a
be
spin
Tokyo.
out.
You can't just do Tokyo drift off a cliff when people are trying to drive.
And they're doing it for no reason. They're just showing off and like posturing to each other about how dangerous
It's flirting.
they can drive.
It's spy
no,
flirting.
You don't flirt by driving dangerous. Okay. So they fall in love in a spin out. Then Anthony Hopkins is in this for a little bit.
Yeah, he's the new handler for Ethan in this one. And at first you think he's going to be the bad guy, but I think there is an inner bad guy within the government. Or is it, no, it's just the pharmaceutical rep who's the bad guy. Which is interesting because if you remember when Tom Cruise had that big, famous, viral clip back in the day where he argued with Matt Lauer. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because Alex used to play that a lot. Because the irony is that, of course, on this topic, just on this topic, Tom Cruise has been completely vindicated. Like all this stuff he was arguing to Matt Lauer is right.
Was he? Yeah, because he was talking about how Scientology doesn't support
Big pharma, pharmaceuticals,
but specifically for like depression. What are those called?
SSRIs.
Yeah.
But so the villain in this one is the pharmaceutical giant.
Yes. So surprise, Tom Cruise's old double. So he's being betrayed again by his old partner who used to double.
Oh, this time it's not his handler; it's his partner.
Yeah.
Everybody betrayed me.
The guy who used to wear his mask for the CIA.
That's right.
And then they chipped the girl. So there's one of your first RFID tracking chips.
Microchips, yeah, exactly. Microchips come up in part 2, not part 1. Exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to remind you guys, too, if you want to support the show, if you want to add some points, if we're missing something crucial that you remember or recall, you can super chat us via the Streamlabs function right there. There's the link for super chats via Streamlab. We're breaking down Mission Impossible 1 through 6.
And
we're on part 2. This is a year before the Big 9, by the way. And what?
Somebody said your hair looks like a French poet, and I agree, and I love it.
Which French poet? Matthew McConaughey? That French poet?
Yeah. Gotta get to living. What is his thing?
Let's get busy living. Where didn't so
Matthew
McConaughey had some kind of like guru event or something, right?
Yeah. The Art of Living or something goofy like
that. But it had a catchphrase like
let's get busy living or something.
Art of Living.
Yeah.
Is that it?
No,
that's Ravi Shankar.
Oh. What was his?
Maybe he's part of the Ravi Shankar something.
Art of Living.
Let's see what Art of Living is. Let's just get... Are you existing or are you living? Is that what it is?
He's going full Teal Swan or something.
No, he can't be that bad. I'll never believe. I mean, he's got a bongo, but I'll never believe he went full Teal Swan. That's just a little much. I thought this had a video in it. It's like an article from an. This is terrible. What is this? Where's the video? Art of Living event. Here we go. What do y'all think? What do y'all think the Art of Living event is?
Go get busy living.
You just exist. Are you busy living?
Deer Park 100% natural spring.
Deer Park water nasty.
So, my son was headed off to camp. Before he went, he shared a really cool.
He said with me.
He said, "Hey, what are you hoping to get from this?"
This.
And he said,
This. He's got a little of this. What are you hoping to get from this?
"Papa, I just want to meet.
I just want to meet new people and do cool things.
Be a lot cooler if you had a surfboard and an airstream.
I should do a skit like as a parody of this event.
You should.
And it'd be like the most just innocuous nothing things. Like we're gonna draw a little paper mache. You know, we're gonna do a little coloring. We're gonna build some of some Legos together. Just me and you, just build some Legos. But a community event. Everybody bring your Legos. What do you think?
We're gonna
Man, that is about the best one.
put a character and look at all these dumb.
Wait. You gotta see this part. He's got a surfboard back there.
And he has a stoplight.
Is that what? Like, no, it's a surfboard. With
no, I know, but in the other angle.
All right, let's listen to his giggle here. This is great.
Okay.
I just want to meet new people and
do cool things. What the heck?
Gonna smoke cool things.
So his event is just let's do some cool things. That the cool things event. That would have been. That's what the tagline is.
Yeah.
Art of living. What's art of living?
I thought, man, that is about the best
reason to go do something.
There is in life, isn't it?
There is.
So
his whole aesthetic is Bodie from. It's Patrick Swayze. Mm-hmm. He's just Bodie, man. Is he a surfer, or is he? He probably didn't even surf, but that's the archetype that he's.
I got an idea. What if we got together so we can meet new people
and do some cool things?
Yep. I'm gonna do my.
Let's just get together and do cool things, man. Hey, y'all in the audience, if y'all want to do some cool things, just super chat. That's a cool thing right there. Just send me a little bit of super chats. It's a cool thing.
Vibing with Matthew McConaughey.
I like the laugh is the best part.
Meet new people and do cool things.
I'm gonna clip just his laugh. That's gonna be my gift from now on. All right. Anyway, I don't know how we got on that. What were we talking about? How we get to?
Because they said you look like a French poet, and you said
I look like Matthew.
Okay. So they chipped Tandy Newton, right?
Tandy Newton. Or is it
Tandy?
Tandy? I don't know how you say it. It's TH, so I thought
Okay.
Thick Tandy.
And Bing Rings is always fussing like he does.
Why you doing this to me, Ethan? Ethan, what you doing to me? You put a hole in my best Gucci's.
That's what he says.
Well, they made him go to Australia Outback in his Gucci's.
He didn't have to go in his Gucci.
Why don't you have tactical gear? Okay.
Yeah, right.
Satellite total surveillance. They're showing you this.
Oh, yeah. This has to do with GPS as well. Because GPS was really hot in the year 2000. Whoa, GPS, right?
Yeah.
And so that does come up. And they have full satellite surveillance of somebody's... Is it the villain's place? Or is it this hideout in Australia? I can't remember. Anyway.
Well, she's the honeypot ex. So she's the jewel thief.
Oh, that's right. Ethan turns. So he's pimping out.
Yeah.
Candy.
So he
that's right.
makes her his girlfriend so he can convince her to go back to her ex and do this mission for them. And
I totally forgot. Tom is a Raven, which is a male SEX operative in espionage. Mm-hmm. And he makes her be a honeypot.
Yeah.
And if you remember, this is really similar to Notorious. That's what Cary Grant gets Ingrid Bergman to do.
Oh, yeah.
He flirts with her and gets her to love him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he manipulates her into outing the NASA.
Mm-hmm. Because she is a jewel thief.
No,
Tandy Newton is.
Oh, well,
Remember?
that's borrowed from To Catch a Thief.
Yeah. And they keep talking about heroes and villains in mythology and the chimeras.
Yes,
and
right.
they have this
They borrow
thing called Bellerophon.
Bellerophon, which is from Greek mythology, that relates to the chimeras, right?
Yeah, so Bellerophon is the cure to the virus, which the pharmaceutical company needs. It's called Chimera, and they need Chimera to sell Bellerophon. And it just spells it all out right there. Right.
And also, this tied into the demiurge and Gnosticism. There's a weird Gnostic subtext to this one. You forgot to bring that
Oh
up.
yeah, because he has a lion
Yeah,
head.
well, make this point right here.
Okay, so they keep talking about heroes and villains in mythology, and Bellerophon goes after the Chimera, who has the lion head and the tail of a serpent, and that's just like the Gnostic demiurge.
Yeah, the Gnostic demiurge is typically pictured as having lion head, tail serpent, and that's what Bellerophon is, right?
That's what the Chimera that he fights.
That's right.
And then you have
so
Chimera virus is like Ebola. Remember?
It's like that. That was popular at the time, but the scammery is what the last 3 years were. Mm-hmm. That's the crazy part. Mm-hmm. But the Brendan Gleeson character is specifically named John McCloy, and that's wild because if you know about John McCloy, he's one of the top elites back in the early CFR period, right? So he's an important CFR guy. I'll show you what I mean right here. And I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with Spartacus, the website. Oops, I went to the wrong window. I don't know why that's... Anyway, let me put it over here. Sorry, Matthew. You can continue. Keep on living. Just keep on living. John J. McCloy, there we go, was born in Philadelphia, March 31st. Oh, man, that's way off. Oh, well. Go back to this one. Harvard Law, etc. And this ties into Bush Dynasty because he was friends with Averell Harriman. And I think he was OSS, I want to say. I'm trying to remember if he ends up in the OSS. John J. McCloy. Anyway, he definitely ends up as a crucial, important figure in the CFR. So, yeah, he wasn't it. Here's the OSS part here, I think. This is a really long entry. I'm not going to read all this, but I will link this for you guys if you want to read his bio. This is super long. Dang. It's basically a book on him. I wasn't looking for a book. I just wanted a brief bio. Anyway, so he ends up as an important person in the CFR. And that's interesting because the Brendan Gleeson character, I think, probably intentionally is named John McCloy. So there's the oligarch John McCloy. Go ahead.
Nobody is who they seem in this movie.
Well, we need to move on. Is there anything else on this one? We need to get to the We'll Never Be out of here.
Okay. John Woo's Birds. We mentioned that.
Let's get to living,
Tom
Jamie.
Boom.
Tom Boom.
Yeah.
What blew up? I don't remember.
Oh, why do villain lairs always have so much hazardous waste lying around? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, villains are never... they would do well to keep up their fire code strictures.
There was a over-the-top motorcycle chase causing mayhem and traffic again.
Yeah, this is the dumbest part of the whole thing is because at one point Tom Cruise and the other guy stand up on their motorcycles, and when the motorcycles crash, they like jump up into the air at each other, and they kind of do this like airlock fighting, and it's not.
And that goes
Are we watching cartoons or what are we watching?
A gratuitous ass-kicking scene that lasts like 10 minutes of them just beating the crap out of each other.
You got it like
and you
a
fell
They
asleep.
Live.
They for fighting for so long.
The fight scene was so long I fell
and
asleep.
woke up and it wasn't.
And I was
even
like,
over.
is it not over yet? So, yeah, exactly. And I don't even remember the last scene. What was the end? Like he just went
just had a
partying in Australia with Thandie Newton.
Yeah, at like a park or some sweet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So, Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah, now things get better. Give
me the rabbit's foot. Do it.
Well, we're going to hear it first. Okay. Then you can judge how good it is. Jamie is actually... she surprised me. She does a really good PSH. So Jamie started busting out her PSHs, and I was in there cracking up. So let's see how good it is.
Where she shines. Rabbit's foot it is. Where she done.
It's a very breathy kind of like. It's very breathy. It's like this. Give me the Rav's foot, Ethan.
You have to be at your wit's end and have contempt.
I'm gonna hurt her.
Yeah. And hemorrhoid.
I'm gonna find her. I'm gonna hurt her. And it's like you're exhausted to talk. It's very breathy. I'm gonna hurt her. Give me what I want.
I'm gonna find her.
Give me the rabbit's foot.
Jules, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Do you understand?
One.
Anyway, you can watch the sequence. If I keep playing it, it'll ding the thing. So here you go. I'll give you guys the link. You guys the link. You can watch and hear him do his little rabbit foot spill. But actually, I realized after rewatching this, Philip Seymour Hoffman doesn't have many lines in this. He doesn't say very much. There's like 2 or 3 times where he comes in with it. Give me what I want. I'm gonna hurt her. I'm gonna find her. I'm gonna hurt her. Give me the rabbit's foot.
That scene in the Vatican.
Does he talk there?
Yeah. He has to read the card so he get his voice.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
So...
Enter JJ Abrams.
Oh, you were talking about was Charleston Heston CIA, because you were watching that documentary. Remember?
Yeah, how does that tie into this, though?
You just said write that down.
Oh, yeah, because he had a lot of friends, and I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have some relationship, to the agency. We find out, of course, over time that many of these Hollywood people did, or were themselves, involved in some way. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know.
Okay, speaking of Philip Seymour Hoffman, didn't he die a mysterious death with a bunch of drugs in his house, like way too many? We don't.
He did pass away. He had an unfortunate airplane event of unaliving. He OD on unalived via OD on an airplane.
An airplane? I didn't know that part.
Pretty sure that's right.
I just know they found a lot of things at his house, like many pounds of things.
Give me my things. Give me the pounds of things. Where are the pounds of things? I'm gonna find them. I'm gonna hurt the pounds of things. Is the stream not working? I don't know what's going on. It says it keeps popping up like it's. Hopefully it's good enough. I don't know.
Okay. Tandy Newton is out of the picture and Michelle Monaghan is in, and they are engaged, and they sure have a lot of friends for a spy.
Yeah, suddenly Tom Cruise is like a normal dude with a giant batch of normie friends.
Yeah.
They have a party like 50 normies buddies coming over.
I don't
it's
even
like,
know that many people.
Where did he get all these friends, right? And
Maybe
she's just
all her friends.
She's just a nurse, but I mean, a very popular nurse here with like
Right?
50 friends over her giant house party.
So Billy Crudup is the good / bad guy in this. The betrayer. The
Everyone
inside,
betray
the
me.
mole.
Everyone betray me.
Yep, everyone. And he has to go save Carrie Russell in the beginning. And she is in a lot of spy things.
She's always in spy movies, right? And in fact, she went from one of the best spy TV shows of all time, The Americans, to now she has a new spy show, The Diplomat. So, again, yeah, curious connections of, directly going to spy work. I mean, to a new spy show from a spy show.
This one's also got implantable chips, just like Total Recall. Remember that when they like shot it up his nose, and he has to pull it out.
Oh yeah, this one you get a microchip in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I put a chip in her head.
I put a ball in her head. It's not a booger. It's a bomb.
I
put a booger bomb in your head. It's gonna blow up. There's a booger bomb in your head. Give me a rabbit's foot now.
So there was a After missile fight, and she died, and that was a really memorable scene in the movies because her eyes went.
Yeah, because her eyes pop.
Yeah.
Basically cross-eyed.
Yes.
She gets googly-eyed.
This one.
She gets Google eyes. Googly eyes like a Muppet or something. Wait a minute.
What?
I forgot Tom Cruise's ridiculous line where he climbs up on the Vatican wall and says Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
Why did he say that? It made no sense.
Boy, was this some kind of encrypted trigger code?
Well,
what is he
so
talking about?
That's the impossible place they have to penetrate in this movie was Vatican City.
Yeah.
But before that, they had a helicopter missile fight, and Morpheus is getting puffy, and he's like, I don't think it's fair that chocolate makes you fat. Remember that?
I don't care the chocolate. I don't think it's fair that chocolate makes you fat. Yeah. Nevertheless, it does.
Yeah. So in this one, you think that Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne, is the bad guy.
Right.
And of course, he's not talking to this. And then we find out it's, yet another ally handler character who's the bad guy, as usual. Billy Crudup. I forgot about but the weirdest part about this one is now we're at Dan Brown stuff. So basically, this is Dan Brown level stuff, which roughly around the time of Dan Brown getting popular, right? Da Vinci Code's out around this time. And I think JJ Abrams probably thought, well, let's incorporate some Angels and Demons level stuff with antimatter. It's like, so they're on the trail of this substance which is going to somehow emanate out of the Vatican and blow everybody up, and it's called anti-God.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
Tech, anti-God.
No, well, they specifically say that it's like an antimatter weapon.
Yeah.
But anti-God is from Prince of Darkness. So it's like, wait a minute. You talk about the green goo that Donald Pleasance is guarding in Prince of Darkness? Anti-God? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Prince of Darkness?
Mm-hmm.
And Donald Pleasance is there as the Order of Sleep.
And
The Order of Sleep.
the evil bum demons.
What?
The evil bum demons.
Hobo demons.
Hobo demons.
Yes. But there's a really funny scene because Donald Pleasance is talking about that he's tasked with guarding the anti-God. And he's like,
I am part of the Order of Sleep. We guard the substance known as pure evil.
you don't like my Donald Pleasance?
No, that's good.
Is that good?
Yeah. What else we got?
Anyway, so they're just like using some Angels and Demons Dan Brown stuff in this, which is goofy. But the anti-God never goes off. In Angels and Demons, I think it does, doesn't it? Doesn't there a Vatican attack or something?
Yeah, because he goes in the helicopter. Anyways, before he goes on this mission to the Vatican, he marries her in the hospital. That was kind of dumb.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But I think as as a spy, he had to have like a secret wedding.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To keep it on the down
And
low.
they had to have a honeymoon in the supply closet.
Yes.
That was not my favorite scene.
With all of the rubber gloves and hospital equipment. Yeah.
After Humpty Dumpty, he disguised as a priest.
That was odd.
And
yeah. Tom Cruise walking around wearing a cassock or a Roman Catholic garb.
And the Vatican security is no match for U.S. spies. What they're trying to say.
Well, it's interesting because it's like the Vatican we think is doing its own thing, and Ving Rhames has this line where he's like,
You want to infiltrate the Vatican, Ethan? Did I hear you right?
and I think that, did they bring Simon Pegg in this one?
Yeah.
So Simon Pegg's now the new hacker nerd in this one character. And the oddity of this is that you kind of get the impression that the CIA can basically do what it wants. Like, if it wants to do something through the Vatican, it can do so, right? That's kind of the weird message of this movie, which is what we've been talking about in a lot of the books we've covered lately, like books like Operation Gladio that we've covered, where you have the CIA basically utilizing elements of the Roman Catholic Church for its own purposes.
This is one had another memorable movie scene with the 3D printed mask.
Is this where they introduce? I think they introduce a mask.
Yeah.
This introduced 3D printed masks.
Right.
Exactly.
And these are getting more popular on like social media now because they're showing lots of people are wearing these things, like maybe even politicians. And
Oh, well. There are doubles. And in fact, I'll grab a book that the basis for Argo is based on Antonio Mendez, and he's the CIA's mask maker. So he actually supposedly did some of these things, right? That's what is being referenced in Mission Impossible films. So if I get my impressions good enough, I could put on a rubbery mask and be Matthew McConaughey, or who else could I be? Can I be Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Yeah.
Be Ving Rhames?
What are you trying to do to me, Jamie?
They introduced drone warfare in this one.
Yes. Well, this comes out at a time when that was a hot button topic, right? 2006, 2007. Everybody, I remember because I was faithful Lord Voldemort listener at the time, following the news heavily, intently. I was all up in all of it, even in 2006. And that was a very hot button topic at the time, was drone warfare. And this is full of that, right? That's a huge part of this plot. But drones keep coming up.
This one was kind of funny when he had to do his geometries and like his beautiful Mayan algebra equations on the building.
Yeah,
to
this
see
was
if he
annoying.
could make a fulcrum to swing to the other.
This was annoying because it's like, not only is he the greatest spy and the greatest assassin ever, he can also just on the fly do really extreme calculus to know how to set up a fulcrum. It's like draws out all these algorithms, right?
Yeah.
So he's also like beautiful mind, right? He's like, Bass and retarded over here, figuring out how he's gonna swing into the whatever the facility is that they do that they break into. In this
he's
one.
always base jumping. He's a base jumping fool, man, isn't he?
What if the Vatican god is anti-god? I'm just joking, but that was my note, right? Vatican god, anti-god.
Oh yeah.
I just thought that was so weird, anti-god. And there was one point where he's wearing a toboggan, and Jamie and I were laughing because we called him Tom Pool.
Yeah,
because he's wearing a toboggan. It's like, is that Tom Pool?
His black beanie made him look like that. They have to drink the blue pill in Alice in Wonderland. So the little antidote is like this little blue.
Oh, and they reference that?
And they talk about Alice in Wonderland.
Interesting.
And they're also selling WMDs to the Middle East.
Wait, who is?
So they can go to war and then clean up.
Oh.
That's part
so
of
this
it.
movie includes...
The rabbit's foot is...
That's right. I forgot about
WMD.
that. They're selling dirty BOMBs and WMDs, and then that they can go in and rebuild. That's exactly what happened. So that's odd because this is actually exposing what at that time was the correct leftist critique of the military-industrial complex, which I still agree with. That's true. But nowadays, you can't talk about that because the left is now a war position. So it's flipped.
I know.
It's crazy.
You will get your spy roof running in this movie. There's plenty of that. They're always running on roofs.
A lot of that. A lot of Tom running. Run, Tom. Run, Tommy, run.
What we've learned from spy movies is you never put your fruit stand on the roof or it's going to get destroyed. Right?
No, you don't have a fruit stand at all.
No.
You cannot have a fruit stand in the world of
Fruit
spy
stands
movies.
are not safe in espionage.
And
because
you
Mission
might as well
Impossible-
not do anything on the roof either.
Mission Impossible 4 begins with rooftop running in Budapest. So pick up where we left off.
Ghost Protocol. Now, JJ Abrams is involved again, and here we have what you think. This one's actually kind of a little red-pilled as well, because you think that it's going to be bad Russian villains. Oh, here we go, the Russian villains. And it's not. It's not actually Russian villains that are behind the staged Kremlin collapse and BOMB event, right? There's this giant thing that messes up at the Kremlin. And they try to pin it on Ethan and his team, but it's actually higher level handlers within the agency.
So they
No, I'm sorry. It's not. It's a higher level international black ops guy from Sweden who is a eugenicist who wants to do a great reset. That's what this one is.
He wants the nuclear endgame theory.
Yeah, he wants in-game global enslavement, Lord Voldemort in game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what what's his name? Did we write his name down?
No.
Okay. The Swedish physicist, this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, so this
He's
one
called Cobalt.
begins with a prison break from a Russian prison in Moscow. And then, surprise, surprise, they have to infiltrate the Kremlin. Because that's the...
Well, his wife is somewhere, and that's why he's infiltrated this prison, is that they've taken his wife, and there's some storyline that he's trying to save her.
Yeah, he had to go there to save her.
Right.
And then, when he gets out, they had to infiltrate the Kremlin, but it ended up being blown up.
Well, it was all
and blamed on him.
It was a trap to get Ethan to be there. So that the Cobalt figure, who's this great reset guy who wants to reset civilization back to nothing, so that he could blame the BOMB event on Tom Cruise, and so that he could then go on to, if he could shut down Tom Cruise and Ethan, now he has free reign to set up his, great reset, eugenicist, reset everything agenda.
Ethan is always the patsy.
Yes, poor Ethan is just like, you would think at a certain point they would just be like, look, we know you're not the bad guy, but in every movie, the agency, the government, the whole world, it's like,
Ex-partners.
he did it.
Yeah. So this is building tensions between Russia and U.S.
Well,
and the
you
Ghost
think so.
Protocol is the IMF being disavowed.
Right. Ghost Protocol means that Tom Cruise is going to have to go undercover. Right. And nobody who's associated with him can in any way expect to... you have to count the cost, in other words.
Mm-hmm. So that makes Tom and his team the TERR.
Yeah. Now, there was a mention of the Apostles. Is that this one or is that the next one?
I think that's the last one.
No, it's the last two because it's the same bad guy in 5 and 6. Anyway. So let me grab a couple.
Solomon and the Apostles.
Right, but
6.
That's the same bad guy from the one before it.
Right.
So let me grab a couple books, and then you keep explaining this one that we're on.
Okay. So this one's got that girl from the Bond movie, Léa Seydoux, and she is the diamond girl that kills Sawyer in the beginning.
Sawyer from Lost.
Yeah, Sawyer from Lost. And yeah, so he was talking about the Rand Corporation game theory and Endgame. They talk about cycles of depopulation, and they say that nuclear war has a place in natural selection. So this is like a Malthusian attitude, and that war equals evolution, or is part of the catalysts of evolution is war.
Yeah, this is the social Darwinian Malthusian belief, which is that death is natural and part of the cycle of progress, and we won't, as a civilization, progress until we realize that civilizations need to die and should die because it's just like death for the individual in the species, right? The individual organism's death is just part of the natural process to further the species evolution. So the same goes for civilization, so kind of a Spenglerian attitude about civilizational progression and decline. But this guy thinks he can be, the Cobalt guy says, I can be the catalyst for speeding up evolution. So this is, syndical, not just syndicalism, but accelerationism and the notion of furthering and increasing evil, dysgenics to further evolution. That's what Salk and Bertrand Russell say.
Well, that's what they say about the black monolith in the 2001 and those things is like...
They're catalysts for the next phase in evolution.
Yeah.
So the priests of science are saying this, and this Cobalt character believes that as well. And he's so committed to it that he's willing to die himself.
So the big stunt in this one was his gecko fingers, remember? He had to climb the
Dubai
Burj
building.
in Dubai with his little gloves.
Which he really did, right?
Yeah. But like, how the gloves stay on? Would your hands fall out of the gloves?
No, if I remember reading about this back at the time, the gloves I think are a DARPA experiment or invention based around now, I'm not saying that Tom Cruise is climbing this with the DARPA gloves and not being, held up by ropes or whatever. But if I recall, the idea was that the gloves are supposed to be based on the way frog fingers. So they have tiny little suction cups.
Yeah.
So let's see if... But I don't know that you can necessarily literally climb up this giant, Dubai business building by doing that. That seems crazy to me, but... So here's a thing talking about this scene, if you remember what we're talking about. I don't want to play the music because it'll trigger. So this is no longer JJ Abrams, it's Brad Bird directing this one, and you've got Tom up there on the what is this building in Dubai?
The Burj Khalifa.
Yeah, that thing. So there's Tom out there doing his thing. I was trying to see if those gloves are real, but you can see he's really doing this stunt right out there. But go ahead, keep going. I'm gonna look and see if those gloves are real, because I thought I remember reading that, but maybe not.
So they have to do this old switcheroo meeting where all the masks are involved.
I did like this part. This part was really good.
And Jeremy Renner is in this, and he's not just a bureaucrat. So you think that he's just like a politician or bureaucrat, and then find out that he was a agent.
Say that again.
Jeremy Renner's not just a bureaucrat. Remember?
Yeah, so his cover was that he's an analyst, but he's not. He's an operative, and he failed to protect Tom Cruise's wife or something.
Yeah.
So yes, it turns out these gloves are, and of course none of the images work. It says that they are based on impressive technology. The Electro Adhesion Company at SRI.
Oh, of course, SRI.
Well, this might be something else, because it says this is a company. SRI is not a company.
Oh.
Yeah, this is a company.
Well, it's at Palo Alto, so it's part of it.
Oh, it could be, yeah. It says that it's a static effect, like a balloon. So they're kind of real, but not like in the movie, basically. Anyway, go ahead.
Then they have to go to India.
I don't remember why they go to India.
To shut down the satellites.
Oh, that's right. There's a weird, there's an alchemical reference in this one, because they take on the name of planets when they do this mission, and the place that they're infiltrating is the sun. And so there's this weird astrological reference, and because she's Venus, she does the sexual enticement, entrapment in this.
Right.
The girl.
She has to seduce the Indian guy.
Yeah.
And he's taking her down the hallway
like,
talking about Karma Sutras.
And he's like, come and find me. Come and find me. I'm naughty boy. Remember?
He's like, the Tantra.
She slaps him, and he's like, oh, I like that.
Yep.
Come and find me. Chase me.
So he is Tantra Karma Sutra body shocker
Tantra
man.
Karma Sutra. He's like Sting in the 2000s, right? For them wine moms, right?
Yep. And what's Operation Iron Fist? Is that in the movie, or?
I think so. Is that their operation?
Is that the Great Reset?
I don't remember.
But they do use fake news in this, and then here comes the Syndicate out of this.
No, Iron Fist is an operation in Sudan from 2002.
Uh-huh.
So this is like an Iraq war thing. Why did we write that? Why is that? What's that in the
I
context
don't know.
of?
It might have been in the movie.
Okay, so maybe they where are we at in the plot? So I think this is just Tom Cruise's the name for his the operation that they're doing.
Oh.
But they're all planets. You don't remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's Jupiter.
And the company that they're infiltrating is the sun.
Oh, right.
So anyway, we're introduced to a new international TERROR organization, much like Blofeld, much like Spectre, which is called the Syndicate. And we find out that Cobalt was a member of the Syndicate. And so when Cobalt's destroyed, it's not the end of all the bad guys, because we're going to get introduced to an even better villain who has a more radical environmentalist eco philosophy. So I do like that this series is actually highlighting, real esoteric, psycho philosophies of the Malthusians. I mean, that's really what's going on in the real world. And we even get the introduction in the 5th installment, Mission Impossible 5 Rogue Nation, MI5, who comes to play a key role in this one. British intelligence, MI5. So the Rebecca Ferguson character, Ilsa Faust, she is British intelligence, and she pops up as this new mysterious female lead character.
So now we have the Shadow Organization, the Syndicate. They're doing TERROR things. Right? Doing FFs.
Yeah, when Tom Cruise walks into a record store, or no, that's the next one, excuse me. This one begins with the Shadow Organization known as the Syndicate doing fake flag events, and they're basically for hire. So you can hire them to do it, but they do have an ideology, which is to bring about the Great Reset.
And they want to kill him for opposing them.
Who, Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Yeah, they realize they have to shut down Ethan Hunt because he's the only person that could conceivably pose a threat to their super secret Spectre organization.
So, who's a better spy, Ethan Hunt or the dad from Alias?
Victor, what's his face?
I don't remember.
He seems more realistic.
Yeah.
This seems more, again, it's like two different things, because the Victor character is Sidney's dad in Sidney Bristow, Jack Bristow in Alias. He's more of a intellectual game player.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise is more of a operative.
Sidney's dad is 5D chess, and Tom Cruise is more like stunt man.
He's in the field doing operations, right? And that's why they make a big deal about in this one or the one before, when Simon Pegg goes from being a desk dork to being field certified. Guys, if you want to support the show via Streamlabs function, hopefully you are enjoying. We have almost 500 tonight. That's great for a Sunday night. As we do our movie podcast, breaking down the films with the symbolism, the meaning, the significance, the esoteric elements, the real world espionage stuff that no one else knows about or talks about, for the most part, in this sphere. Yes, I understand there's some people out there that do talk about these things, maybe somewhere. But who else is giving you this kind of high tier content, citing the sources? Bro, look, you think I don't? Look, JJ Abrams talks about the CIA consulting on Alias in this academic text. You think this is a conspiracy book? No. Where's this from? University of Texas Press. Cynthia Jenkins. CIA in Hollywood. Now, when I was talking about the mask stuff and the creating of disguises and all this, kind of like classic espionage stuff, this is the real guy who, from the CIA, would do this stuff, Antonio Mendez. And so if you've seen Ben Affleck's Argo, it is based on this guy and his book. He's the guy behind, let's set up a fake movie in Iran and use that as a cover. That's very much a Mission Impossible Ethan kind of thing. What?
I was just going to say, if you like all of the locations that they travel to, especially in Mission Impossible 3, we are doing our own trip to Italy in November.
If you guys want to come, you can.
We will not be Humpty Dumptying on the Vatican wall.
I will be. I don't know what you guys are going to be doing.
He is going to climb up the Vatican wall.
I will be Humpty Dumpty on the wall, whatever that means. But So here's a little video. I can't play it except here on the. Well, let me think. Did I put this up anywhere yet? All right, so I'll be playing better full screen versions of that. That one just got sent to me tonight, so I wanted to go ahead and play it for you guys. But if you are interested, then that is all over here on this website. You can come over here to Nika Travelers. Of course, it's not going to fit on the screen. And find out all the information and the dates and whatnot if you're interested in that pilgrimage to the Orthodox sites in Italy. So here is the link for that. Orthodox Italy.
It looks amazing. It's going to be more than 10 cities in like 2 weeks. It's going to be all planned for you. Everything's going to be, you don't even have to think about anything. You just have to show up and enjoy company and holy sites. And this is all with Father Vladimir. And he has a great book about the geometries of Renaissance art and sacred geometry. So there's going to be a lot of cool lectures and backstage things that you can only see if you are with priests and tour groups like ours. So.
Yes. So I'm trying to get this station the right where it fits on the screen. Yeah. So November 5th to 18th. And again, if you're interested, you can reach out to Father Vladimir there through this link there. So, guys, what's up? Where's everybody being stingy tonight? No support. Nobody wants to give us any of that. You know, them sweet super chats. There's a little bit of living. Right?
Yeah.
Where's the ha-ha tonight? We need a little ha-ha, as Matthew said. No. So anyway, if you do want me to keep doing, these analyses and breakdowns, then do so via the super chat function right there. Also hit like and share. I mean, does everybody already know this? Am I just talking to everybody who's like, yeah, we already know all of this stuff. Why are you telling us what we know? Okay, well then maybe I don't need to do these things. So if you guys already know this stuff, what's the point? By the way, also other live events that we will be doing here. If you're looking for all of our upcoming events, the June 3rd and 4th event in you want to put that up? Nashville. So we'll be doing the June 3rd and 4th event in Nashville with a bunch of cool people, all part of that. And the link for that is here. The big live event in Nashville. I'll put that in the chat.
Yep. It's Rebels for a Cause with Courtney Turner.
Look, here's what I'm going to do to simplify this so I don't have to put all these different links in there. I'm going to put one link to all of the events. Here's the events page, our itinerary lineup thing. If you're interested in the 3rd and 4th of June, the tickets are there. If you would like to see us with, if you would be a part of our experiment, the Jamie Kennedy experiment, we will be in Los Angeles at the live event there. Tickets are there. I'll be doing a panel Q&A at a Comic-Con. Yes, there is overlap with Comic-Con. We talk about a lot of movies. We are right now covering spy movies. And you can attend that Comic-Con in Kentucky with that link right there. And then there is the link to the pilgrimage. So if you guys are interested, thank you guys for those super chats. Really appreciate it. Much generosity. Much generosity. Now where are we at? We're on this last one or not yet?
No, number 5.
5?
Yeah.
What's going on? Where are we at in this?
Alec Baldwin comes.
Oh, yeah,
He
Alec
wants
Baldwin
them
pops
shut
up.
down. He wants them absorbed
As usual.
and transferred into the CIA.
It's like Fox Mulder down there in the basement.
Yes.
Time to shut down the X-Files. You're on to too much truth. Shut this thing down.
They're always trying to fire Mulder.
Yep.
Okay, so this one goes to the Vienna Opera. And I was going to look about what this opera was about, but I forgot. Turandot?
Keep going, and I'll look it up right now.
Okay, so Simon Pegg works for the
I wrote an analysis of these.
You know?
I did. Well, there's analysis of Rogue Nation. I did this really long.
So this is 2015, so this is getting into like more futuristic stuff, like his computer is a piece of paper.
Yes, it is getting really advanced and techie. Exactly.
Yeah. And no, you don't have to get stabbies to go to Italy. Someone's asking about that.
No.
Um,
I'm pulling up my
There's too
Rogue
many-
Nation analysis. Go ahead.
there's too many assassins at the opera, so that was kind of a funny scene, like 2 or 3 assassins that he has to deal with that are trying to get the politician at the opera.
Evolutionary abiogenesis. Forgot about that. What?
Did you pull up your analysis?
I did,
Okay.
yes. And I'm going to pull it up for all of these beautiful people, too. Because this is pretty good. I went pretty deep on this back in the day when it came out. So, go ahead. Or do you want me to just get into some of this?
Yeah, or look up the...
Tomcat. Remember Tomcat?
Yeah.
That was him and Katie Holmes. Tomcat. Tomcat returns to save the world. Tom minus the cat in the last installment of Ethan Hunt's, modeled on CIA spy master Howard Hunt. Howard Hunt. The impossible mission force was able to halt the enigmatic Cobalt in the last one. In his apocalyptic attempt to kickstart evolutionary abiogenesis by nuking the globe. Great reset. As highlighted before, the film revealed a great deal of truth concerning the real world, hearkening to the likes of Gil Bates, Ted Turner, Prince Chuck. In this week's blockbuster, something equally sinister is that of the subterfuge of British intelligence. So enter Rebecca Ferguson as the mysterious and duped. She's being used by her handler in British intelligence. So she's learning that, hey, just like they screwed over Ethan, they're screwing me over. Remember?
Well, her name's Ilsa Faust.
Right.
What is Turandot?
So in my analysis, I go on to point out that with Hunt disappearing and the IMF disbanded due to the government inquiry, the CIA takes over the role of what I mentioned, Colonel Fletcher Prouty's secret team style operations, formerly helmed by Hunt, while the IMF team is accused of collusion with international terror. Hunt, in captivity, learns the Syndicate is enabling international fake flag terror, plots, assassinations, and large-scale disasters. Weather, war, disasters, see? In a long chain of managed chaos. So this is strategy of tension, strategy of chaos, Gladio-style things. The film's most interesting and artistic sequence is the Turandot opera sequence in Vienna, where 2 assassins accompany Hunt's femme fatale lead, Ilsa Faust. Let me see if I got any.
How do you say it?
Oh, so I don't know. Turandot. I'm assuming it's French. There's a reference. Look, I have a link, so let's see what it says about the opera.
I like it.
It is Italian. Turandot. What
About
does
a
it say?
prince and princess of China.
Read it.
In order to win her hand in marriage, a suitor must solve 3 riddles, with a wrong answer resulting in execution. Okay.
So that's why it's fitting for the assassin sequence,
right.
is because it has this theme of execution. But here's the interesting part that I've noticed, that the sequence in the opera in Vienna, Austria, is where 2 assassins accompany Hunt's femme fatale lead, Ilsa Faust, seeking to gain entrance to the Syndicate by assuring the assassination of the Austrian Chancellor should she fail. Thus, there's a reference here to the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand by British intelligence that, in my view, is what was behind World War I. So the Black Hand, right? I'm saying that Britain really wanted World War I, or the elites, the Fabian socialists behind Britain wanted that. So the plot, turns out, of Turandot functions as the backdrop to Rogue Nation, as the 3 riddles must be solved for the opera's prince to obtain the hand of the princess. Passing these tests, the princess will still be unwilling to marry him, so a compromise is offered. If she can guess his name before the dawn the next day, he will die and release her from the bond. In Rogue Nation, Ethan and Ilsa Faust exchange offers of a way out. So there's a connection between the opera and him and her. Say, they offer each other a way out following 3 failed tests for gaining entrance to the Syndicate. Faust's name is obviously from Dr. Faust, representing the deal with the devil. As we discover, Ilsa is actually under the thumb of British intelligence, entrapped into infiltrating the Syndicate by her MI6 handler Atlee. So she has made a deal with the devil, as Faust did. Do you see? Ultimately, the significance of the opera is quite transparent. Just as the assassination occurs at a certain note in the opera representing the lead's death, so the assassin's cue is the death note. Expanding this principle into Twilight language, the message is this: the characters in the play are playing out a script in the exact same fashion that oligarchs and their intelligence agencies manage the puppet strings of world events. The world is a theater, in the sense that the power elite stage manage world events with the same precision as a symphonic composition. Understand this point well, since this is the entire message of the film. The rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland twists and turns of the intelligence world of halls and mirrors is the background to reality's big events, in the same way that Turandot is the background to Mission Impossible 5. That is MI5. Isn't that interesting? The TERROR squad in Rogue Nation is precisely how the world is run. As I've argued for many years, the numerous anomalies, patterns, stagecraft in the big events, you can guess which events I'm speaking of, speak to secret teams that might be involved in such types of events. Exactly. I won't mention those things because you can't on this outlet. You can read my essay if you want. The suggestion in the film is that MI6 made this deal with the devil, so to speak, so that the stage-managed world of events on the behest of the Anglo-American establishment, right, can be traced back to intelligence elites themselves, the secret team. And this is exactly what we get in a lot of the Bond stories as well. So, anyway, we can move on.
They sure need a lot of defibrillators in these movies.
Yeah, Ethan basically should have constant like everywhere he goes, right? Because we know he's going to die at least, and it gets up. The ante gets up so high that eventually they have to just die and bring him back, right? Like this happens twice. He dies and comes back.
And there's always a defibrillator around when you need one.
Because in this one he jumps into an underwater data facility.
Is that
like
is
they're
that
storing
5 or 6? I can't remember.
That's 5.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, and he gets flushed out.
Yeah. He gets coom toileted out.
Yes.
Do you have another note? What?
Kidnap the PM, lol.
Prime Minister.
The security becomes part of IMF. She's free now.
Yeah, so basically he's trying to set Elsa free, right?
Mm-hmm. So 6, Fallout.
Fallout, radiation fallout, right?
2018.
Right. So this one, I remember I made a video on this one in when I was in Florida. So you can go watch my old Fallout video if you want more on this one. But it was nice to review it because I think I know a lot more than I did 5 years ago. So.
Well, this one is about TERR and manifestos. And
yes.
He has... The bad guy is in his head now because he's having nightmares of the bad guy at his wedding.
Yes, and this guy's a good bad guy. I forget his name, but I know the character's Solomon Lane, but he's part of this previous syndicate. He's the remnants of the syndicate. Now the syndicate has been broken up, but they're reformed into being basically a weird anti-apostle 12-member specter organization that's quasi-religious. They call themselves the Apostles.
Yeah.
And they have a religious philosophy that is atheist. It's a Reddit philosophy. They actually say that it's atheistic. They're anti-religion, anti-organized religion. But their religion is an eco-religion, hell-bent on bringing about a new civilization through nuking everything. So more of cobalt, but now it's explicit religious with 12 apostles.
And so they start out by doing a smallpox epidemic.
Well, this reminds me of this because people who follow her think that they're following ascended masters, and she thinks Jesus is one of the ascended masters, and she talks about these ascended masters. Sometimes, if you remember, even Elvis thought that he was one of the 12 ascended masters, right? But as we know, Blavatsky's stuff was also at the service of the Fabian Milner circles and British intelligence. So I think that this is again hinting at quasi-religious apocalyptic sects that believe in things like a Great Reset.
And they have the Manifesto of the Destruction of the Current World Order.
Yes, to bring about a new world order.
And they have to acquire the nuclear
And a nuclear codes.
Yeah.
Machines, things that pop real loud. There's a lot of things that pop real loud. You're either with us or with them.
This is the scene we were talking about in the very beginning when we were talking about they got the bad guy in the hospital bed and they orchestrated the whole destruction of Rome, Jerusalem, and Mecca. And he's watching on the news and Wolf Blitzer's on there.
Yeah, he's an apostle
He thinks that his TERR has won. And he's like, sure, I'll tell you whatever now that we've already nuked these 3 cities.
Yeah.
And come to find out it was all staged and fake and gray.
Fake and gray.
Yeah.
And Wolf Blitzer walks in and says, good job, and then it's Simon Pegg
because
wearing
they want him
Wolf
to
Blitzer.
read the manifesto on air. Right.
Yeah, but so they had to trick him into thinking that they did.
Yeah.
But it looks like it really is Wolf Blitzer in the movie. But that's interesting because a lot of these movies for many years, especially spy, conspiracy-oriented movies, they've been blending the layer between fiction and reality for a long time by having news anchors come onto movies playing the news anchors that they are.
Right.
So you'll have movies like Contagion, where you have CNN anchors in the movie Contagion talking about the outbreak, right? Wolf Blitzer, I think, has a sequence in Spectre or Skyfall. It's maybe even No Time to Die. He pops up in a news sequence talking about things as Wolf Blitzer in the news in the movie. Okay, so they've been doing this for a long time. There's a lot of these. I think this is again. It's not just like, oh, well, they're recognizable faces. It's also a kind of a surrealist operation. It's a meta narrative thing to blend fiction and reality.
This one introduces Henry Cavill. Or is he in the... No, he's in the last one.
This is the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's the bad guy in this that we find out is actually one of the apostles who's infiltrated the CIA.
And him and Tom Cruise butt heads immediately because they have to work together.
Right. They don't get along. They're both, and that's because there's this, animosity because he's working for Solomon Lane.
Yeah.
He's also in, at the same time, he was in the remake of Man from U.N.C.L.E. with Armie Hammer.
Oh, right.
And I also have an analysis of Man from U.N.C.L.E. too, because it has a very similar conspiratorial nuke plot like this one.
You really liked the plane in this one? You said it was thick.
I was just making fun of it.
The plane was fat.
I was making fun of it. I didn't like it.
You
I said,
liked
that's
it.
a thick plane with 3 seats. It was a big old fat plane.
And they have to go to a rave, which is what you have to do when you're a spy.
What's that plane? The one with the Snoop Dogg movie with the plane where it's Soul Plane and it's all tricked out and it's like
Yeah.
it's tricked out. This is like that.
When you're a spy, you have to go to a lot of raves. Okay.
Apparently
Lots
you do
of
now.
bad guys are presiding over
Sydney Bristow
raves.
had to dress up like a rave
Yes.
girl many times.
So this one features the parish rave, and then the blonde girl is weird because she likes the danger, and they call her White Widow or something like that.
I can't remember if a White Widow is Leah Sado or her, but maybe it's her.
I think it's this girl.
Okay.
But
she is not actually a bad guy. You think that she is,
Right.
but it turns out that she's contracted to the CIA.
Well, she hired Lark to extract Solomon from custody.
At the very end, though, we find out that she's actually working with the CIA.
Right.
The
And
black
Angelica
woman.
Houston.
Angelica Houston explains it, yeah.
Yeah. They really push Ethan's like moral upstandingness in this. Like he's the savior of the world.
Yeah, it's very much a messiah complex kind of thing with and again they've had to keep upping the ante. So, but I have to say that the action sequences in Fallout were really good, just on an entertainment level. I mean, it's a great action movie.
Well, he even says like whenever something bad happens in the world, he thinks I should have been there. Right?
Yeah, right.
So he's responsible. Tom Cruise is responsible for
Okay,
all of
Tobey
our
Maguire.
safety.
Okay, Tobey Maguire, right? With
Yeah.
great power comes great responsibility, right?
But his mercy is used against him a lot in these. Like he's like, I should have killed you, because they always came back to haunt him, right?
Classic tropes.
Yes. Alec Baldwin's hair is ridiculous as usual. They try to say Ethan is Lark, so he's the patsy again. But it was actually Henry Cavill helped Solomon frame Ethan.
Right.
Angela Bassett, not Angelica Houston,
I'm sorry, yeah, Angela Bassett. I
tries
don't know what
to
I was
bring
thinking.
them all in. And then they had to go to Kashmir, which is crazy.
Well, that's interesting because Cashmere and that region comes up with her, right? This is this mystical region, and the Lane character chooses that because he wants to specifically get Tom Cruise's wife, Michelle Monaghan, out there as an aid worker so that she's the first to get destroyed when the nukes go off in this fallout, right?
So they trigger the smallpox epidemic to get her out there as the WHO, or
Let me-
what they call HAO.
Right, I'm going to have to plug this in.
Right, because she's the relief aid giving the stabbies to the people with smallpox that they...
those are all covers.
Right. And so what they want to do is make sure the nuke gets into the headwaters of this mountain in Kashmir that is like a major Eurasian population source of all their water. You remember that? So they want to poison the water to all this whole continent almost. And it starts in Kashmir. And they are giving all the stabbies. I did like the fighting helicopters in this. So it's so ridiculous. He has to like jump on this bag that's dangling from a helicopter like a dingleberry and climb up the rope.
Like a dingleberry.
And he has to climb up the rope and like get in the helicopter and beat up the pilot and the guy sitting in there and take over the helicopter and fly it. But he got it done. Ethan gets it done.
I'm trying to remember if that comes up in this book. I think it does. Kashmir, 81. So that whole region is
Isn't that supposed to
endued
be
with mystery and...
Yeah, like where the 7 rays are from or whatever. Like
Yeah, I think Blavatsky, right? She and the Theosophists have some connection to that region, but I wanted to see if it came up in the Gould and Fitzgerald book. It only comes up, I think, in one. Let's see exactly. Keep going with the.
that's pretty much all.
Is that all we have on that?
That's the end.
Well, how did that? He's
6. Well, they come to the realization that the world needs the IMF to keep it safe because when they try and shut it down, it just goes wrong. And the terrorists come out.
Say that again.
They decide that the world needs the IMF to protect them.
I'm trying to pull this map up. That's why I keep getting distracted. There we go.
Pull up the map.
Pull up the map. I'm gonna hurt the map. Show me the map. I'm gonna hurt the map right now. Show me the map.
Where is it?
Where is it?
Where's Cashmere?
Where's the map? Anyway, okay, so yeah, this is one of those bizarre regions, right? Which is over here on the edge of Afghanistan, right?
Yeah.
And in the great book that covers why this is so important to the Anglo-American establishment, the British Empire, right? Afghanistan's Untold Story. This whole book is about why the British Empire had such an obsession with this area. And it also covers a lot of these secret team operations that the Fletcher Prouty book mentions. So as you can see, every empire has found this to be an important region because, as Zbigniew Brzezinski says, this is the gateway to Eurasia. Afghanistan is the gateway to Eurasia, and to control the Eurasian heartland is to control the world. And so this is a geopolitical philosophy that the British Empire had under Lord Halford Mackinder, that the U.S. Empire adopted later on, particularly in the period of Brzezinski for sure, but probably before that as well. But Brzezinski talks about controlling this region for world control, and he calls it the American Empire. So this is not pejorative political speak. It was actually the terminology that Brzezinski used in his last book, Strategic Vision. So I'm just pointing out that what's in this book, right, is all backed up by that. And actually, this is the background to why this region, this area is so important, right?
Somebody mentioned that Led Zeppelin song, Cashmere. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it talks about secret angels or something like that.
Yeah, well, this is the region isn't just interesting because of imperial geostrategy. It also has this mystical component too, which Gould and Fitzgerald do write in an eloquent way about. It's an important area for that too, because the original philosophy of Far Eastern Illuminism, Rumi, that's all from this region.
Oh,
You know about Rumi, right?
Yeah.
Rumi comes up in this book too, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. And the reason that Illuminists like Rumi is that he had some kind of, I think he had like a revolutionary philosophy for this time period. Like he was a democracy kind of proponent. Does that make sense? So let me see. I know it mentions Rumi. I remember it. Oh, it's not listed in the... Anyway, do you want to read the super chats? I read this book so many years ago that a lot of it I don't really remember. So let's go to our super chats, but you guys get the basic idea. So I also did an interview with them 7 years ago when I read the book. So you go ahead right here.
Marquis Stockdale. What?
Read this guy because he did a super chat at the end. It didn't, and it just came through.
Antichrist Free Zone $1. Hi Jay, could you possibly review either Mr. Robot TV series or the Stan 2020 TV series at some point?
You know, we were planning to do Mr. Robot back when it was on. I was watching it, and then it got kind of gross, and there was stuff I didn't want to watch. You probably can figure out what I mean. So I never did finish it, but Jamie and I started watching the 2020 Stand, and it was all right, but then we just kind of got bored with it. It was silly. So I don't know if we're going to review those or not, but maybe. Go ahead.
Maybe we can have another Stephen King stream and talk about.
What Stephen King have we not done? I thought we'd done them all.
There's always more.
It's like an infinite like stream of Stephen stream.
Yeah.
Streaming King. Also, I want to remind you guys too that show sponsor is Chalk.com. Chalk is the best supplements that you can get. The Shilajit, for example, is excellent for mental focus and clarity. If you do a lot of reading, a lot of focusing, a lot of thinking like we do, then you definitely want to make use of Shilajit. Head on over to choq.com, chalk.com. Use the promo code J50, that's JAY50, to get 50% off all of the excellent products over there, including the Shilajit. But you can also get the Seven Wonders. Seven Wonders is great for mineral supplementation in terms of like it's like 7 mushrooms basically. So it's 7 different mushrooms that have all kinds of nutrient dense adaptogens and so forth that are great for making up for what's missing in our diets. There's the Action 2.0, which is great for energy if you're looking for energy boost, energy levels. There's also the Irish Moss, which is great for hormone imbalance, that kind of stuff. Ladies, you would like the Irish Moss if that's an issue for you. Again, head on over to choq.com, chalk.com. Use the promo code J50 to get 50% off. And also head on over to Chalk and use the promo code J53Life for recurring subscriptions. In other words, if you don't want to put that information in every week, you can bypass all that by having a ready-made, ready filled out thing where they just send it to you every month, right? It makes it really easy. It's great. And that's a different promo code. That's J53LIFE. That's J53LIFE. And that gets you 53% off all recurring subscriptions. Chalk also puts it easily into stacks for men and stacks for women. So if you don't really know what you want, you can order a stack over at chalk.com and test out which of the ones work best for you. I'm a big fan of the Tomcat Elite. It's proven to boost testosterone in peer-reviewed studies. You can go see all the reviews and read the information over at chalk.com, and you'll see that it's really, really good stuff. It really does work. It's not baloney. We've been using them, and they've been a sponsor for almost 2 years. So we're getting close to 2 years. And also to remind you guys, too, that Excellent Show sponsor is one of the best podcasts out there, which is also live right now. I didn't mean to stream over them, but Grand Theft World, they're live tonight doing Alien Invasion. And so they're talking about geopolitical issues, and you can subscribe to them on Rockfin. Grand Theft World is the sister podcast, you could say, in many ways, one of the best podcasts out there when it comes to covering geopolitical issues. If you like tonight's podcast, you're going to love Grand Theft World. They're out there covering the exact same types of material that we are. And Richard is, as he says, a forensic historian, as is his buddy Tony Myers, who also covers philosophy. Great intellectual guy, great analyst over there. So go check out those guys. Be sure and subscribe to Grand Theft World. Also subscribe to our buddy on YouTube, Scott Mannion. Scott and I will be doing a podcast tomorrow on the history of Britannia. So he got the idea, we got the idea to do a chat. We're going to do a deep dive tomorrow on the history of Britain from a Britain perspective, not from a woke Marxist perspective, but from a Britain perspective, you see. From a real man of Albion, not a soy college professor. There's the link to Scott's channel. Be sure and subscribe to Scott. And let's see, what's the next super chat?
Somebody said do Gattaca, and we already did that one in our dystopian series that we did last year. So Gattaca's part of that.
Yes, so Jamie and I did an entire chronological series of all the dystopian films in our podcast, and so we have done Gattaca. We did them as they are dated in the movies, so it's a chronological themed thing. If you can't find it, go to the channel. Just keep searching around for,
Dystopia.
Yeah, you guys have to search this stuff, right? Go ahead.
Mark T. Stockdale, $5. Jay, do the keyboard noise and then send boom. I just blew your ass up, boy. Woo.
I don't know what that means.
Is that from the movie?
Oh, is that a line or something? Or is it like a shock jock when they're like, blow me up? Like one of the shock jocks always says, blow me up. And then he like plays somebody sucking on a bong.
No.
So I don't know if he means blow me up like that, or is it like a movie thing, or is he talking about Ric Flair? Woo! Right? It says blow me up, boy. Woo! I'm sorry, Mark. I don't get the reference.
I bet one of the hackers was like...
Probably. It's probably a hacker reference.
Yeah. Okay, Mark, $10. Thank you. Gary, $50.
Thank you, Gary. Big Gary, winner of the night, $50 super chat.
Gary
Much
Whale,
appreciated.
$5. Forget to ask the question. Since the old covenant is fulfilled by Christ, would the Ark of the Covenant still be forbidden to be touched by anyone except priests today?
Well, Jeremiah says that when the new covenant comes, the Ark of the Covenant will not be seen and will be forgotten. Now, theoretically, could an Ark of the Covenant exist as a relic? Sure, the Old Testament tombs of the prophets, the Old Testament temple, these things would be relics to us in the Orthodox world. But I don't think that the Levitical strictures will be in place, because that was prior to the true Ark coming to be, which was the body of Christ. The body of Christ is the true Ark for us.
Adam 1912, $40. And
wow, thank you, Adam. Much
you.
Appreciated. You're really making it worth it tonight, Gary and Adam. Thank you guys, as well as the other super chatters. I wanted to mention too that we forgot to say that if you haven't seen it, Tom is also in the movie American Made, where he plays Barry Seal, right? Who was the famous cocaine trafficker for the CIA, right? Who ended up unfortunately gone. He had met an untimely demise, and that's in the movie. But Tom Cruise does a great job in American Made. I mean, it's a really good film. He plays the role perfect, and it's about Barry Seal, who was a real, coke trafficker for the agency. So a lot of truth in this movie. I would also point out that you can go read books like this, which are a good fit for this movie. And also I'm covering stuff like this very soon. Dirty Work, classic, edited by, it's a bunch of articles by analysts by Philip Agee. So we'll be covering those books soon. What were you going to say?
My favorite Tom Cruise moment is
when the plane crashes and he's covered in cocaine.
No, what? When he goes on Oprah and he grabs her, remember?
Yes.
This?
And he goes,
yeah, hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When he's happily in love and he's going wild. Yeah.
That's the best.
Anyway, thank you guys so much. If you
Jump on the couch.
No, I'm not doing that. Hit like and share, and hopefully you enjoyed our somebody had a good coom joke here. What? And I lost it.
I liked Morpheus' chocolate pill joke.
Anyway, thank you guys. We'll come with some new heat soon. Next up I'll be doing, we'll do more geopolitical stuff, obviously, always, but movie wise I'm gonna do top Lovecraft themed films. So there's several Lovecrafty type movies that I've not covered in a video podcast yet, so we'll be doing those next. We did Mel. What else did we talk about doing? John Depp movies. Mm-hmm. Some John Depp.
Maybe
quite a few John Depps we haven't done.
Maybe Antichrist movies.
Oh yeah, and then maybe corny, like Stigmata, End of Days, Damien, Omen, this kind of stuff. We haven't really done a podcast on that.
Evil Baby one. That sounds
Evil Baby. But none of those are good enough for a real breakdown. They would have to be just kind of
joke stream.
Just joking around, right? Yeah. But you could do a stream on Hollywood Antichrist movies, because there's actually only a handful of them, right? We've done Rosemary's Baby. We're not going to do that again. That would be played out. But we haven't done The Omen, Stigmata, End of Days. We did Devil's Advocate. So, there's actually not that many Hollywood Antichrist movies. They're kind of ridiculous. Now, we talked about Constantine, but I don't actually think Constantine has the Antichrist. It's just like Michael and Gabriel, isn't it? But we did Stranger Things out the wazoo. We beat that like a dead horse. In fact, my Stranger Things analysis on Lord Voldemort got 250, 300,000 views. So, have we done Stalker? We just completed Rublev. So we did a 2.5, 3 hour breakdown with Andrei Tarkovsky Jr. Okay, Andrei Tarkovsky Jr. together with us breaking down Rublev in about 3 hours. So we will do all of them with Andrei Jr. Hope you appreciate how awesome that is. What a privilege. So no, we haven't done Stalker yet, but we will do Stalker because we plan to do all of the Rublev films. So who else is analyzing movies with the frickin' sons of some of the greatest directors ever? We are. So hope you guys appreciate that. Hope you like that. If you would, hit like and share. Tell us below in the chat, guys, if you're watching this later, leave me a comment. What other series would you like us to do? So I'm going to do a Lovecraft series, right? We'll do a John Depp series that we haven't done.
Yeah.
What else?
Old movies like Sunset Boulevard.
On Sunset Boulevard, James Cagney, White Heat. That'd be a great one.
Yeah.
Series. What series would you like? Antichrist series, right? That'd be a goofy one because the Hollywood Antichrist movies are pretty.
Drop some themes and we'll think about it.